In this section, we will talk about frequency tables. Let's look at some definitions. A frequency or a count is a number of times an event occurred in an experiment or a study. So frequency, the key word here, is a number of times an event occurred. A frequency distribution shows how data are partitioned among several categories or classes by listing the categories along with the number or frequency of data values in each of them. So sometimes classes are also called bins. These words are synonyms. Okay, so let's take a look at the frequency distribution to the left. Okay, so what is all this saying? It shows how data are partitioned among several categories. So the categories are these class intervals, 6 to 11, 12 to 17, 18 to 23, 14 to 29, 30 to 35, 36 to 41. Frequency is how many data values fall in each class interval. So for example, in this case, 6 values fall between the interval 6 and 11. 23 values fall between the interval 12 and 17, etc., etc. A relative frequency is the frequency for a class divided by, so remember this is the division sign, so it's a frequency for a class divided by the sum of all frequencies. For example, the relative frequency of 6, it's a frequency for a class, the relative frequency for the class interval 6 to 11 is the frequency for the class, which is 6, divided by the sum of all frequencies, which is 100. 6 over 100, this is equal to 0.06. If we look at the relative frequency for the class 12 to 17, the frequency is 23, divided by the sum of all frequencies, which is 100. 23 divided by 100, which is 0.23, and that is a relative frequency for this interval. Cumulative frequency we will talk more about later on, but it's basically the sum of all the frequencies for that class and all the previous classes. The cumulative relative frequency is a sum of the relative frequency for that class and all the previous classes. We will look more closely at the two of these when we see an example. Each class has a lower and upper class limit. So let's take the class 6 to 11. The lower class limit is 6, and the upper class limit is 11. Lower class limits are the smallest numbers that can belong to different classes. Upper class limits are the largest numbers that can belong to different classes. So in each of these, this is the lower, and this is the upper class limit. Class width is the difference between two consecutive lower classes or upper class limits. Okay, now this is important. It's the difference between two consecutive, meaning back-to-back, lower class or upper class limits. So we can take any two lower classes. Let's take 24 and 30. So in this case, the class width is going to be 30 minus 24, which is 6. And if you notice, you can take 36 minus 30, 18 minus 12, 12 minus 6, and they will all have the same class width, which is equal to 6. Let's look at an example. Consider the following variable, GPA of 16 students at a local high school. So these are the GPAs of 16 students at a local high school, ranked from highest to lowest GPA. We want to fill in the table. Now we first want to create classes or bins starting with 1.0 and a class width of 1. Okay, so let's go back to our definition. Class width is the difference between two consecutive lower class or upper class limits. So the easiest way to do this is we're starting at 1.0 and our class width is 1. So remember, this class width represents the difference between two lower class limits. So we just add 1 to each of these, and that'll give you 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0. We put a bracket here because the lower class limits are included in our class. But the upper class limit, so this goes from 1.0 to 2.0, notice that the 2.0 is actually included in the next class, so we put a parenthesis to indicate that the 2.0 is not included. Same thing goes here, 2.0 to 3.0, 3.0 to 4.0, and 4.0 to 5.0. The lower class limits are all included in the class, which is why we use a bracket. The upper class limits are not included, which is why we use a parentheses. Now let's look at the frequency of each of the classes. In the first class, between 1.0 and 2.0, we have 1 and 2 students that have a GPA between 1.0 and 2.0. Therefore, the frequency is 2. We can't calculate the relative frequency because we first have to get a sum of all the frequencies, which we will do at the end. Between 2.0 and 3.0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students. So the frequency for that class is 6. Between 3.0 and 4.0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 students. So the frequency for that class is 7. And we have one person who has a GPA of 4.0. So the GPA of, or the frequency of the class 4.0 to 5.0 is 1. Now the relative frequency is, if you go back to your definition, the relative frequency is frequency for a class divided by the sum of all frequencies. So first, let's take the sum of all frequencies. You got 2 plus 6 is 8, plus 7 is 15, plus 1 is 16. But we knew that because we're looking at the GPA of 16 students. So the relative frequency, this will be 2 over 16. This will be 6 over 16. This will be 7 over 16. And this will be 1 over 16. So if you put this in a calculator, 2 over 16 is equal to 0.125. 6 over 16, this is equal to 0.375. 7 over 16 is equal to 0.4375. And 1 over 16 is equal to 0.0625. Now the cumulative frequency, if you go back to the definition, it's the sum of all frequencies for that class and all previous classes. So for the first class, the cumulative frequency is simply 2. For the second class, it's the frequency of that class plus the previous class. That'll be 8. For the third class, we got 7 plus 6 is 13, plus 2 is 15. And for the last class, we have 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 6 is 14, plus 2 is 16. The same principle applies for the cumulative relative frequency, except now we are looking at the relative frequencies. For the first class, the relative frequency is simply 0.125. For the second class, it's 0.375 plus 0.125, which will give you 0.5. For the third class, it's 0.4375 plus 0.4375 plus 0.125. This will give you 0.9325. And for the last class, if you add 0.0625 plus 0.4375 plus 0.375 plus 0.125, this will give you 1. Now let's answer these questions. How many students had a GPA of 3.0 or higher? So if you look at the frequency for the classes that are 3.0 or higher, we have 7 students in the class 3.0 to 4.0 and 1 student in the class 4.0 to 5.0. So a total of 8 students had a GPA of 3.0 or higher. What percent of students had a GPA of 2.9 or lower? Okay, so 2.9 or lower is going to be the class 2.0 to 3.0 and 1.0 to 2.0. These are GPAs that are 2.9 or lower. So if you add this up, we have 6 plus 2, which is 8. But because we're asking for a percent, you would take the 8 divided by 16, which is going to be 0.5. And we learned in our previous sections that to convert a decimal to a percent, you can multiply by 100 and add a percent sign. So this will be 50%. Finally, what percent of students had a GPA of 2.0 or higher? So if you look at 2.0 or higher, we have 6 students plus 7 students, that's 13, plus 1, which is 14. So 14 students have a GPA of 2.0 or higher. But again, we're looking for a percent. Percent is the number divided by the total. So 14 divided by 16 is 0.875. To convert this into a percent, we would multiply this by 100, and this will give you 87.5%. Now, in the next case, we're using the same data, except we're creating classes starting with 1.0 and a class width of 0.5. So let me help you guys create the classes, and I'll let you guys fill out the rest of it on your own, and we'll go over this in class. So we're starting with 1.0, and now our class width is 0.5. So we're going to add 0.5 each time to get to the next lower class limit. So 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, 4.0. Okay, now all the lower class limits are included, so we are going to put a bracket. All the upper class limits are not included, so this will be 1.5 with the parentheses, this will be 2.0 with the parentheses, 2.5 with the parentheses, 3.0 with the parentheses, 3.5 with the parentheses, 4.0 with the parentheses, and 4.5 with the parentheses. Okay, so fill the rest of it out, and we'll go over this in class. But just to get you guys started, for the first class between 1.0 and 1.5, there's only one GPA between 1.0 and 1.5. That'll be the frequency. Okay, so go ahead and fill the rest of it out. We will do this activity in class, so don't fill this out quite yet. And that's it.